Hello, welcome to everyone that's here. The people that are on time, I would like to start on time so we can get right to it. My name is Chip Dizard, for you all don't know. And before we start, I have a colleague of mine, Joel Sam. He's going to be on here as well. And we're going to start this webinar very quickly. Right now, everybody is on the mute function, so you should be able to hear me. But if you cannot hear me, you can say something in the chat box. The chat box should be to your left if you can hear me. And I just want to make sure it looks like I'm talking. And if you can hear me okay, you can just say, okay, great. Michelle Riley said she can hear me. Welcome, Michelle. It's good to have you here. Good. So we like to start right on time at 4 o'clock, and we were going to end on time. So before we start, we're going to have a word of prayer, and then we're going to go right into this technology webinar. I'm really excited about all the things that are going to happen today on this webinar, and I think that the information we're going to share to you is just going to be introductory, but it's going to really help you and help your ministry. And for the people who didn't make it here on time, we'll have this as a recording. So I'm going to record this webinar starting right now. So we'll have a word of prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you've done for us over this past week. Now bless us as we talk about your ministry and how to better it with technology. This is my prayer. Amen. All right, great. So now we have people coming in. We're going to go ahead and start the webinar. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through today's agenda, and we have a lot of questions that were sent in, a lot of things that are going on today, but we're going to move through it fairly quickly. But I did chunk out at least 20 minutes to go through the questions that were sent in, and then if you have a question, you can send it right to me on chat, and we'll be able to answer that, myself or Joel. Hi, Gary Wimpich. I see you just logged in. Thanks so much for the people that can hear me. And like I said, we are recording this, so if people want to watch this again or anything like that, you'll be able to watch this. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go. We're going to share my screen real quick. Try to get this screen sharing thing going on here. All right. So I'm going to go to my webinar here. Okay. All right. So again, my name is Chip Dizard, and I'm with Web Video Chefs is a website that I started, and we're going to talk about. It's really a series that we're going to do called the Digital Toolkit webinar, and also we're partnering with a company called Symbiota, and you'll find out about Joel Sam and Symbiota and how they work with me and how we work together with technology and ministry. Again, if you have questions for me or Joel, you'll send them in the chat. Right now I can't see the chat because I have a full screen PowerPoint, but I'll get back to you as soon as I see. What I'm not going to do today is a sales pitch. I've been in many webinars. They try to sell you on a company, sell you on services. We'll suggest services, but it'll never be a sales pitch that you have to use it. It's a lot of things that we have. A lot of companies want to partner with us, but we want to make sure that this is strictly a free webinar. We're going to do these hopefully on a monthly basis and keep these free as possible. And we're using a free service, by the way, to put these on. So we don't want a cost on any end for it. I'm not going to do a large introduction of me for people who do not know me. If you do know me, you can find me on my website at chipdizard.com. I've been working for ministries and over 10 to 12 years with technology, and you'll find my bio for people who do not know me and see why am I doing this webinar. And then I'm not going to go into too many details about one particular piece of software. So I think that the problem a lot of times, there's a lot of people who want to go into a particular piece of software, and I think that if you're on one piece of software and that software fails, then sometimes you can get jammed up. So I try to use as many pieces of software as possible, have as many options. So that doesn't mean you have to be an expert in every one, but you just need to know how to make a way and how to make it happen. So without further ado, we'll go into today's agenda. And I had this on the email that we have. And a lot of questions we received about what are the best software choices for graphics, why most pastors don't use PowerPoint or Keynote correctly, and then how to use video motion graphics in your sermons, and how to put them in your sermons, and then how to create your own graphical presentations. I may not get to that as much because we have a lot of good questions. So some of these things, at least number 4, may be trumped by some of the good questions that we have. But we have a good 55 minutes on here, and Joel and I are willing to stay after if people want to get on and ask questions. And if you have a question that you want to ask for your microphone or something like that, you can just put that in the chat box directly to me as a direct message, and probably in about 30 minutes we can get to all of the questions. All right, so I guess one of the thing a lot of people ask, what are the best? There was a tweet that went out a couple of days ago by a pastor, and they said, "Hey Chip, what is the best software to use, Keynote or PowerPoint?" You know, and then there's other one called Prezi. If you haven't heard of Prezi, PREZI.com. A lot of teachers have used them. It's more web-based, Flash-based, but they do have an iPad app. It is good, and my answer for this question, it just really depends. You know, I use PowerPoint. Right now I'm using Keynote, but I also use PowerPoint as well, and Prezi. So it just depends. Well, I always start with a question. What do you want to create? You know, PowerPoint, one thing that I know was known to have all of the stock graphics, and you could tell a pastor using a PowerPoint from a mile away. And then Keynote came about, and then we could tell that everybody's presentations upgraded, but everybody's presentations look the same. So the key is really not the software, I want to say. It's really what you do with the software, and that's really my key when I go to PowerPoint or Keynote. Both of them have their pros, both of them have their cons. I say primarily I use Keynote, but I do use PowerPoint as well and Prezi. So it just depends where I am. If I need to put a movie in, what works better. But my advice is, if you have a Mac, Keynote is a good option, but PowerPoint is an excellent option, especially PowerPoint 2011. And they're free online templates. If you go to Microsoft, if you're going to do a Google search, go to Microsoft, you can download the free PowerPoint templates for PCs as well. And
Sure, getting a little bit of feedback that
okay.
Sometimes it sounds like you're moving away from the mic.
Okay, so no problem.
Up the sound was coming in.
Thank you for that feedback. Joel, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Any more questions about PowerPoint versus Keynote that are in the chat room, Joel?
Not just yet.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide. Why pastors fail at presentations? You know, I've seen a lot of presentations, more or less on evangelistic series. I've seen a lot of presentations, sometimes on the weekends, on Saturdays, Sundays, whatever day you go to church, or Wednesday night, and it's usually it's just too much information on the slide. I guess I'm from the Steve Jobs a school of presentations, is that he has one bullet usually per slide. I mean, I'm breaking that rule by having 3 bullets here today, but listeners and viewers are more savvy than ever before. I think that I remember going to a church years ago, and a pastor put out a PowerPoint, and it was just so bad. He read straight from the PowerPoint, every text, everything, and I was like, oh my goodness, how can we ever get through this? And if he announced that he had 100 slides, and then everybody slid into their pew, they said, we're never going to get out of here. So that's one of the things that I think that we need to make sure that you do not have too much information. If you take a page out of Steve Jobs' book, one thing he also says, your audience does not care about your product. Now, our product, of course, is souls, and of course about that, but some people that come in your church are there because they don't want to be there. I remember when I went to a particular church, there was a weekend that I particularly didn't want to be there, but I had to be there for commitment, but not to be entertained, but Steve Jobs, in his presentation, this book I have, he said people care about themselves. This guy named Guy Kawasaki, he's a former employee and a Mac evangelist, and he said the essence of evangelism is to passionately show people how you can make history together. Evangelism has little to do with cash flow, bottom line, or co-marketing. It is the most passionate form of sales because you're selling a dream, not a tangible object. Of course, we're not selling anything when you're preaching, when you're giving a presentation, but you are telling them, hey, they can better their life if they follow Christ. Hey, they can, move to another level if they make this commitment with God. So ask yourself, about what you're doing. Is there anything you want a listener to take away from the presentation? We have another thing that a lot of pastors have too many bullet points, and bullet points can really be the death of any presentation. And the third thing is antiquated graphics. And you want to make one thing as clear as possible. You want to make sure your graphics are not antiquated. So these are just basic tenets. And of course, you say, okay, Chip, that's good, but show me. Don't worry. I'm going to show you where you can get graphics from, how to pare down your bullet points, at least to one main thing, one main idea, and keep it going. So here's a sample of handbills that some of you are familiar with. We've seen these all over. Growing up, I see all these. The prophecies of hope. These are a little bit more updated now. So these are handbills for evangelism mailings. We've seen these all over. And, they have worked in the past, but with our society now, at least, and with millennials and other folks, they do not respond to these types of handbills. Not everybody as much. I was at a church recently for a seminar in D.C. It's a Metropolitan Seventh-day Adventist church, and that's why I have Joe here on this call, because they did something very interesting, and he's going to go into what they did and how they did it. But these handbills are just they work. They do work, but I think that you can do better, because I'm going to show you the graphics that Joe and his team that they created for the series. Is talking about a beast, and we think of a beast, you think of these graphics right here that you've seen, but you don't think about a beast being cool. So they actually branded it to say, hey, you can be a beast for the kingdom, but that means you can be cool, you can be hip, you can be up to date, and you can be a beast for God, and go hard, and not being scared to tears when you see these handouts and these mailings, because most of the people I know in my age bracket, in their 40s and their 30s, when they get these things, they see the back of it, and then it goes it's used for recycling paper a lot of times. So here's a sample of the Beast for the Kingdom. So this was a shirt that they had. I was there. They have a backdrop, and if you look at the difference between this. Now, would I have a shirt with that on it, with a lion and some wings out of it, and some terrible looking beasts when I walked out? Or would I have a shirt like this one, Beast for the Kingdom? I actually wear that shirt outside of the church. I wore it outside, wore it on a Wednesday during the day, to a picnic somewhere, a Sunday. So I think that it's all about branding, and it's all about graphics and things like that. So, yes, so I'm getting a little feedback saying I'm moving back and forth from the mic, so I'm sitting right here, right in front of the mic. So if I'm over modulating, I will turn my gain down on the mic. So if this is better, I'm going to turn my gain down just a little bit on the microphone here. So that is what with graphics and things like that. So and then we had the pastor of the Metropolitan Church. They have this in squares, and Joel is going to talk about how this all came about. And you can see that during this series, Beast for the Kingdom, not only the shirts that were there, it was even in the back. So I'm glad my sound sounds a little bit better now. Thank you for that feedback, guys and ladies. So that is really, I think that we need to move from these types of graphics to these types of graphics. These will rein people in. You'll say, hey, this is something that can be used and can be marketed a lot better. And I know church marketing is oxymoron, but it's something that I think that we have to do now. I was telling a friend of mine the other day that when I grew up, my grandmother used to tell me, whatever the pastor said goes. Nowadays, as you know, as pastors and ministry leaders, a pastor could say something and it may not go as quickly. So if the pastor said, growing up, the grandmother said, the pastor said, be back at 3:00. We were there at 2:45 in the pew. Nowadays, the people are like, well, why should we come back at 3:00? Give us a reason to. So, as times change, ministry, you have to adjust your ministry. You cannot do ministry like it was in 1964 and 2012. So that is just my little thing on just marketing. Okay, and that's in Hyattsville, Maryland. And like I said, they had not only the backdrop that they had, and Joe could talk about how this was made, and then they had the PowerPoint or the keynote presentation, all the graphics, coordinating all the mailings and the Facebook campaigns and everything like that. Now, I also want to talk, and this is a perfect segue for you, Joe, about text messaging and how with Evangelistic Series, how your company and how you partner with Metro to use text messaging for evangelism.
Good stuff. Thanks so much, Chip. Thanks everyone that's here joining us. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. Let me know in the chat if you cannot. But yes, a couple things. I see a couple questions coming in. So with the graphics, and Chip is going to share this particular source, there are a number of resources on the internet. Some are free, some are for what you're getting relatively low cost. One that we use is called Graceway Media. Some of you may be familiar with it. It does have a cost. I think it ranges anywhere from maybe $250 a year to $400 a year. But with the resources that you get with that, I mean, you're getting pretty much, graphics that you can then use for a wide range of services and events that you have. So compared to, ongoing for every single thing using a graphic designer, I don't think you can really beat that cost that they have there. So that's one of the things. That particular graphic that you saw with the Beast was based on a graphic that they had. So one of the things you can do with Graceway is, in addition to graphics they have, you can also take a graphic that they have and ask them to customize it, or you can obviously have your own graphic folks, if you do have those resources, to customize it. So that was based on a general graphic that they had that we then the Metro basically brought in their particular theme and subject matter and tied it in with that particular graphic. But the idea is really, as Chip was saying, that to be in touch with how things are being marketed today, and understanding shorter catchphrases, long titles, and so forth usually are not as successful. So simple titles, simple subjects like that are usually going to be better from a graphic standpoint. One of the things, so overall with the presentation now, one of the things ultimately that's often been a challenge for the church is also being able to have interactivity. That's where the text message polling comes in. Many may be familiar with using things like visitor cards and so forth, and those can still be used, but we find that text messaging is one of the areas that you can then combine technology. Young adults and really almost everyone today, my grandmother has a smartphone, is using these various technologies, so you can still supplement the traditional technologies. But what you're able to do now is, like what you saw with that graphic there, we could send out, say previous to the event, a text message with that actual picture graphic inviting folks to come out to the event. During the event, we'll have typical quizzes based on the previous night's sermon presentation, and what you're doing the following night is basically asking questions where folks are texting in their questions, and then you can give prizes related to that, which again then add to the text message list that you're then going to be able to stay in contact with those folks. So when you have your next event, when you have your Wednesday night Bible study, your prayer meeting. So it really gives you a continuous way, and it's not just a one-way communication. You can also get feedback. So one way that churches will use this is after a sermon presentation, what are some questions that you have on the sermon? So maybe you have a sermon presentation in the morning, and then maybe you take some of those questions in the afternoon and dig further into it. You can also, get feedback on, all sorts of things as far as what church members would like to see, You can use it to collect other information, such as name, email address, etc. So a vast, a number of ways that you can tie in kind of this two-way communication with your overall presentation. And on the next slide there, basically you're going to be able to see kind of an example real time in how this would work. So those of you that have your cell phones nearby, if you take them out and you're texting phone number 70,000, the word church tech as one word, so church tech as one word, and you're texting that to the number 70,000, you'll be able to see kind of how that works, where you're going to get an automated message returned to you in real time. And this is the same technology that churches are using to be able to stay in touch with their members. So you would just text church tech as one word to 70,000, and you'll kind of see in real time,
Joe,
how that would work.
So yeah, I want to go in a couple of questions about text messaging. Now, with this only works for smartphones, right? Is that true, or just?
That's not true at all. That's one of the good things with it. So both your more advanced technical members and your less advanced members, it works for any phone. So once a phone can send text messages, most people have unlimited plans these days. It can work with this system.
It's 70,000. I put 7,000, so I'm just trying to do it again. So, okay. Does anybody on the chat have any questions about this? Church tech. Okay, I'm just trying to put it there. And okay, Joe, tell people who are not on have a smartphone, what should they receive back once they text 70,000?
They'll get a text message just thanking them for signing up for the list, and just let them know that we'll keep them updated on other ideas and so forth. This is the same way. So your church would have a message, maybe thank you for visiting today. We hope you enjoyed the worship service. Want to remind you about our Wednesday night Bible study, for example. So there's a wide range of, it could even be a link. One church, actually at Metropolitan, there are a couple other churches doing this for their Wednesday night Bible study. They'll have a PDF that they'll send out prior to that Bible study. So that will basically allow where you can actually have the questions, et cetera, that the group would be reviewing, and that will just be a link, and they can write up on their phones.
I did get the reply. So if anybody else got a reply in the chat box. Okay.
Yep, I see some folks are getting it. So on cost, and we could talk further about it offline. So someone had a question about that. It depends on the number of text messages being sent, but it starts as low as $29 per month, and we do have a free trial for it for any of the folks on here. We'll just get with us after the call, and we'll set up a free trial for you. We'll get 100 credits.
Okay, I have no more questions, Joe. I'm going to go to the next slide. Unless any more questions in the chat about text messaging? Okay, go ahead and answer.
Yeah, I do have one or two here. Jared, yes, that is the message that you're supposed to receive. I see Byron has gotten the message.
Okay.
So I don't see any other questions.
What Joel just talked about is a segue, and we're right on schedule here because we want to make sure that we don't want to do all the talking. We want to make sure we get to your questions, and there are a lot of questions that are out here for technology. And one of the things that Joel was talking about is video and motion graphics. And for me, one of the best places to get them is a place called Graceway Media. So we're going to jump over to Graceway Media, and let me see if audience can see my screen. Can you see my screen, Joel? I think you can. Can you see? Okay, so Graceway Media, it's called gracewaymedia.com. I don't know if I could put that out in the chat, and let me just put that in the chat real quick. gracewaymedia.com. And that is where you can have different types of memberships. Now, what I like about Graceway is that they used to be called PowerPoint Sermons years ago. I found them a while ago. And they cater especially to churches and ministries. And then when I first learned of them, you could just get one type of graphic, not the kind of customized graphic that Joel is talking about, because usually a lot of churches, as we know, do not have graphic designers on staff. So what I like to do is I used to get the free where the free files, Joel. Here, I'm trying to look for them. Here they are, free downloads right here. So I go right here, 24 stills of motion, and then I could just see Second Corinthians here. I go to life groups, run the race, and then HD, different things, even countdowns, and they have them in Spanish and English. And if you ever use this, and here's this text one right here, Joel, that people can use for that. So basically, you just go here, download. You have widescreen, standard, or you could use the PPT, the PowerPoint. And then if they have a membership called Total Media, if you know Photoshop, and Photoshop is a PSD file where you can update everything. So I would just click there. I would join one. I use widescreen, so I would log in to download. So I'm not gonna log in right now, but I would log in to download that. Joe, do you have anything other experience with Graceway? Just because.
Yeah. Couple notes for that. So what you can do is, as you mentioned, you can download either the graphics, so depending on what you're using with PowerPoint, Keynote, also the systems that those of you that have worship software, in some cases it's useful to download the actual picture file, and that way your entire service can be themed with that particular graphic. So from the praise and worship all the way through the sermon. They'll have a version. If you go back to any of those graphics there, Chip, they'll basically have a version of that. So your entire service has that kind of theming throughout the service, where you can have the wide area for words, for praise team, even what person is coming up next. So it's prayer time, or it's the children's story, and you can have that one theming.
Okay. Then they have sermon series, and then if you want to create banners and credits and all that other stuff. I see in the chat Pastor Warfield saying, and Pastor Delroy Brooks, if you get use logos, you think you can get a discount. I'm not sure. About that if you use logos. For our webinar subscribers today, we are going to make sure that you all get taken care of, and just for being here, we wanted to we partner with them with our webinar viewers. So use this coupon code NEW25 for $25 off any membership. So, like I said, this is not an endorsement. This is just something that we use, that you and I only suggest resources right now that Joel and I have actually used before. So use the coupon code NEW25 for $25 off any membership. And Joel, if you want to just talk about a little bit more, just go into why you all went with Graceway opposed to just hiring a graphic designer or something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I see Melvin Warfield has a question on it. Is it similar to Share Faith? I believe I've seen that site as well. I've looked pretty comprehensively, and this seems to have the widest range and quality of graphics. They create probably, I don't know, it seems like 50 new graphics every single month. So almost every single sermon theme you could think of, there's a graphic that's already made that easily fits into that theme. So just the quality and level of graphics, I have yet to see anyone out there that has that level of graphics. And I know there's going to be a document. There are some other places
we put
to get graphics that we have used and supplemented as well. And I believe Chip is going to be sending out a document with those. But this has the widest range and the highest quality of graphics for churches that I've personally seen anywhere. And it also gives you the ability with the retitling to have them retitle graphics that they have there with where your verbiage is. So you can edit it yourself. PowerPoint is one way to go, and they can also, they basically do these things called credits, which range basically from $2 per edit to maybe $4 or $5, depending on how many credits you have. They'll do the whole re-edit for you. And they're really easy to work with that. And usually it's about a 48-hour turnaround for them to change the words.
There's some questions in the chat. I don't know if you want to answer those, Joel. Do you see the questions?
Yeah. So there's one. Do you have full graphics for something like Daniel and Revelation? In this particular, in like a Graceway, you're probably going to get more of like a title graphic for that. For those specific graphics, you probably still have to use some of the more traditional means. But at least for the what you're going to be putting out there from a series standpoint, et cetera. You'll have some different options that you would have in the system. You can really use your creativity and find a graphic that has another titling and put your titling for a series like that. And that's what we did with
here's one, Joel, that I have Daniel, and then they have every chapter
specific.
of Daniel. They have Daniel 6, Daniel 9, everything like that. So do you see that? And then also there was can you edit? There's a question that came through about can you edit. I think you answered that, but they could do the retiling if you have something called the PSD or the source file, and if you know how to do that, you could do that yourself. But that comes with a membership, correct, Joel?
There's a simpler retitle. It's not always going to be quite as crisp, but it'll probably work for a lot of folks. If you just download the actual graphic and put it into PowerPoint, so maybe if you can go to one of the graphics that's there, they'll have different versions of the graphic, one that doesn't have the titling on it. You can type in the titling that you want, and it will usually tell you what font they use, and they use what I call DAFONT. I'll put it here in the chat.
Yeah.
And you can usually find the font that they use and enter it in yourself.
PC and Mac, right, Joel? And there's dafont.com. I use this often. So.
Yep, correct. So those are free fonts that are in there, I believe, or primarily free fonts, but you can really get some more interesting fonts for the titles and the words that you're using inside of your PowerPoints than maybe some of the standard fonts that come with Keynote and PowerPoint.
Okay. So
that's a great
I think we're going to move
there.
on. It's about 30 minutes in, and we've done our part. Joel, if we could go through any of the questions that we have on our Keynote. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and we can go through some of the questions that have come up.
Screen sharing has stopped.
And I'm going to start with one of them. I have a lot of questions. Let me just go through here real quick that came through. Getting clips for sermons, making excellent PowerPoints. I think we kind of answered that with Keynotes and deliver. All right, there's a lot of people that want to deliver things via iPad. So a good question. A lot of people have iPads these days. A lot of pastors preach with iPads. And I just want to make sure that, let me make sure that we know that you can use your iPad and present from it. Now, Joel, I don't know if you've done this before. I have something called Apple TV. Now, if you have Apple TV, you need to have an iPad 2 or higher to do this. If you have Apple TV hooked up to a HD TV screen, you can control your Keynote and mirror it in iPad. I will have to do a video demonstration of that. It's kind of hard to explain by just talking to that, but you can do that. That's one of the questions. I don't know, Joel, do you have any suggestions about using iPads for presentations for Keynotes?
It would be good to do a video presentation because there's a lot of detail with it, but there is a way to control your presentation, as Chip was mentioning, from your iPad, where you can have a view that you're able to see what the next and the previous slide is, so you can quickly be able to be, on track and knowing what's coming up next, and if you need to jump back a slide and so forth. So that may be a good one to kind of do a more in-depth one, Chip, where we actually do some video with it, because there's a lot of detail. But it's definitely one of the things I will say is that you can use Docs to save your sermon, and that way it's available kind of wherever you're able to get internet, at least from the ability to be able to pull it down. So I definitely would keep a version of it on the particular device, but you can use Google Docs, which is free, to just kind of keep a version of it. And that way, if something happens to your computer anywhere that you can get internet, anyone else's computer, you can be able to pull up.
Okay, Joel, I also got a question from that was sent in to me. It's about YouTube. How in the world do you pull YouTube videos? And I'm going to share my screen once again, and I'm going to just share my full screen real quick. And how do you how do you pull YouTube videos and pull them into your sermon? So what I'm going to do is go to a YouTube video, and I'm going to show you really quickly some software that I use. and it is called YouTube. I'm gonna put this in the chat as well. It's called YouTube Wondershare on my tube. So I'm going to put this in the chat, and there's a free version, and there's a one that's $29.95. This is the one that's pretty rock solid for me, and it says the transmission, the sound is going in and out. I don't know. I see that in the chat window. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure you adjust your speakers.
I'm hearing you fine.
Any part with you can't hear me, just tell me on the chat. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you the Wondershare. So when you install this program, it puts a little download button right here. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm going to make my screen bigger, but every YouTube video that comes up, you see that download button, and then you could just click there, and then you could download it in various formats. This is That's My King, Dr. S.M. Lockridge. Is a video, 2 million views, very popular. So what I'm going to do, I can just click here and hit download, and then it's going to launch the application. Now it's for PC and Mac. I'm on a Mac, of course, but I've used this on a PC. It's worked fine. The free version and the paid version. The only difference between the free and the paid version is a few other features, but you can try it and go from there. So once it's going to launch my program. It's launching the Wondershare on my tube, and it's going to put it. You can't really see it, but see how it's downloading right here, 2 minutes, and it just goes right here. And once it's downloading, I'll be able to put that in my PowerPoint or my my Keynote address. So I'm going to show you right now live how I can do that. Joel, do you have any other resources that you download YouTube videos? I mean, this could be for Facebook videos, for Vimeo.
There's one that I don't. You'll need applications for. I believe it's a Save.
Put that in the chat
YouTube.
Notes too, because there are some. Here's the thing. Now, does this work with every YouTube video? Probably not, but it works for me. This has worked for me about 90% of the time. There's some videos that have commercials in front of them. You have to wait and things like that. But I've downloaded many YouTube videos and I put them in my PowerPoint or my Keynote. As you can see, I'm downloading this now. And then there's a download helper. I see John Lewis for Firefox users. Like I said, there are many ways to do this. I'm just sharing you my workflow and what's worked for me. And let me tell you why I like this program opposed to a web program, Joel and everybody. I like this because you'll see as soon as it downloads, I'll be able to convert this to many different types of files. So as soon as it's finished download, you're able to convert this not only to an MP3, I can convert it to a Final Cut Pro file, iMovie file, AVI, anything like that. So we're going to go back to this program here. And that's why that's been pretty rock solid for me, and a conversion.
And while you're doing that, Chip, I guess the unasked question is why necessarily download it versus playing it through YouTube. Obviously, the reason you want to do that is you just never know what's going to be going on with the bandwidth at that particular moment at your church. So you're taking a lot of risks if you're trying to play a YouTube. And then the second reason is if you download it this way, you can actually put it into your presentation. So at the certain, at a particular slide, you can play that particular video that may go with your presentation. And, obviously in this generation, whenever you can, any use of multimedia definitely keeps,
so it finishes,
everyone's attention.
Finished download. So we're going to do That's My King. There it is right there. That's My King convert. And then we're going to convert it to a MOV. And we can convert it to mobile phone. We can do audio formats. We can do all types of stuff. We can see all of the formats. So I'm just going to do MOV. Pull my desktop. I'm going to hit OK, and then it's going to convert it right there. And once I convert it, it'll show it. Then I'll be able to put it right in my Keynote or anything like that. It takes about a minute to convert, and once it converts that, we should be able to go right and put it right into our Keynote or to our PowerPoint. And that's the reason I use that. Okay, let's go to some other questions that we have here. Joe, any other questions that you have that have come up? You have the sheet as well.
Let me look through here. And if there's something that you definitely want to get asked, please use the chat window. We're going to try to answer as many of those as possible. There was the video clips. We just answered that. Finding good pics for illustrations. So there's gonna be a PDF that will be sent out that's gonna have a number of different resources for pictures that are gonna be free resources that aren't breaking copyright laws. There was a question about if Google images are legitimate to use. It really depends on the image, and a lot of times you do need to source those. So the resources that we'll provide is really the better and more ethical way to go with the pictures. These are images that are specifically have been given for the common domain, if you will, which means that anyone can use them.
Okay, Joe, I have downloaded. I'm going to share my screen again, if you don't mind. So share my full screen. Okay,
yeah,
so I'm just going to go down. So after I downloaded it, there it is right there. Okay, I need to share my screen again.
Screen sharing has stopped.
All right, so once it's here, you see, and
screen
I can
sharing
just
has started.
And that is the video that I just downloaded. Then I'm going to open up PowerPoint, and then a lot of times we got a question one time of how do you source graphics, how do you put stuff in PowerPoint and things like that. And basically you could just go in File, Insert into PowerPoint. I always keep a copy if I have a movie from File, I always keep a copy with me in the folder. So when I'm giving it to the media team or something like that, and you want to know a lot of times if it's a Mac or PC or if it's something else, but I always keep a copy to source it with the file. So here's the file right here, and I'm putting it in PowerPoint, and it should be here somewhere. Okay, computer have a lot of stuff running on. But the key is on PCs, and this happens a lot of times with a lot of people. There was a question about, I have, there it is right there. I have a flash drive, and then I put it in the computer. Then all of a sudden it doesn't work a lot of times. So a lot of times your tech guys will have to know whether it is, this is called an MOV, it's a QuickTime movie. Those work well with Macs. And I'll put this in the notes as well. MPEG 1. Those work well with PCs, so those are pretty much bulletproof. And even Graceway Media, Joel, if you notice, they have MOV or MPEG, download options, so you're able to get both. So this will work right on a Mac, but if I put this to a PC, this may not work as well. So if I'm going here and doing my slide, and I just pull that in here and going from there. So that's just one way to do it. Knowing the formats, and I know it's very hard for a lot of people to know every format and everything that's going on. But I think that the more that you know what your source is, or if you have an idea, of what the church has beforehand, you're able to format your graphics and things accordingly. Videos can be very tricky, but like I said, that's why I use a Wondershare, because it automatically can convert to different formats, and that's real important.
And we have a question of clarification. MPEG works best with Mac.
MPEG,
that's correct, right?
MPEG 1. They call MPEG 1 files. Want to make sure they work best with PCs. Okay. MOVs work best with Macs. MOVs or QuickTime. So if you don't know how to convert to an MPEG, I'll go over that in a subsequent video tutorial. How to get your if you're a Mac user, I can do a tutorial of how to convert your PowerPoint and all your videos to get them PC ready. So when you give the flash drive to the media person, you can ensure that it's worked, because I know that after you spend all the time in sermon preparation, the last thing you want to is that we've all had them happen, Joe. Tech glitches, we all had them. So, okay. There's a free version of Wondershare, allow you to convert to different formats. No, it doesn't. MPEG works for PC. Remember that, Byron. But the free version only lets you. Let's look at it real quick. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go to let's go see what they have here. So the free version.
Screen sharing has started.
Right here. Where is it? Multimedia, YouTube Converter. And let's see, the Windows. I think that 150 formats for your fingertips. I want to say that's not the free version, of course, but you can go to the Wondershare and see for yourself. But I think that you could download from Hulu, Facebook, Mega Video, MetaCafe, Vivo, all these videos, and the MP3 files as well. But to convert it, you have to have the $29 version of that. And I have the $29 version because I'm always downloading something, putting something in a PowerPoint presentation for something. So that's any more questions on the chat, Joel?
Yeah, there's a question. This is from Delaware Brooks. What are your recommendations to get a church to be able to take advantage of these technological advances? So that's a little bit outside the scope of technology, but it is something obviously that I do work with Symbiota. I know Chip does as well, works with churches and oftentimes are on limited budgets. And two things I'd say. One, in some cases, the technology can replace some other ways that the church may be doing things that may actually be more expensive. So particularly with for example, with the text messaging, many churches spend quite a lot of money on paper, on flyers and bulletins, on a lot of that stuff that when you look at it for a lot of churches a lot more than they would spend on text messaging, which has much higher results. So for example, with text messaging, 98% of someone you send a text message to is going to read that text message. A lot of time and money is spent on both paper and even email, email is not bad. It's definitely one of the tools that you want to use, but even email as compared to text message is not as effective. One of the other tips I'd give is, sometimes it takes knowing the technology. So maybe, using the free or lowest version of a particular service or product, showing that to the church, doing it well with excellence, showing how it can be incorporated into what you're doing, and showing the different level of excellence that brings to the presentation and to the worship service, and then being able to present that to your board and different things like that once it's kind of been demoed, versus something that they can't touch and feel. Usually, just as humans, once we can see and touch it, you probably have a better chance of them kind of wanting to use it and to at least attempt to find the cost for it. So those are my 2 cents and kind of what I've seen in real life situations, trying to get some of that stuff approved.
I just want to say, what is the best way to transfer a television or film clip into your presentation? News, great, from Pastor Warfield in Nashville. And then I have another question coming up with, can you see the video using Keynote for the iPad? I have not let me answer that question first from Willie from Maryland. I have not seen Keynote for the iPad put video clips in there. Have I? Wait, let me see. I think I have. I'm mistaken. I have done a presentation. I wouldn't do that with Apple TV wirelessly. It can get a little dicey. Truth be told, the less, depends on your computer too, the less processor intensive. If you have a MacBook, Air, I have a MacBook Pro, but if your computer is not the latest version, I would not try, or the computer that you're presenting on is not the latest version. I'll be very skeptical about putting some videos and high-end graphics on there. But the iPad, I have put it on there, but it's been a little delay. So, if you can test it, I know sometimes that's not possible, but if you can test it either the week before or night before, and with the media team to make sure that it goes, because a lot of times that we figure things out, Joel, by just practicing and testing it and making it happen. Let me go through the best way to transfer television or film clip into your presentation. The news. Okay, so a couple of ways, Pastor. If you have a PC or a Mac, all right. So let's say you see a clip on the news that you want. There's a couple of ways you can do it. One is through, if you have it on your DVR, I have a tutorial I need to send to you of how to get videos off of VCR tape, but it's similar to use if you have stuff off your DVR. So I will put that in the chat box. But if you wanted to, let's say you want to get a clip off of the news, off of local ABC affiliate, if you're on a Mac, you can use QuickTime. And let me just share my screen again, and let's try this. I'm going to share my full screen. And Pastor, let's say if I wanted to get something off of the ABC affiliate, all right, let's just go to I'm here in Baltimore, so I'm going to go to the CBS affiliate. I just know their site, wjz.com. It's a CBS affiliate here. And if I see something on their site that I want to get in, let's just see. Let's see if I want to listen live or anything right here. You can use QuickTime. I'm on a Mac, of course. You can use QuickTime Player. And once it opens, let me open up QuickTime Player. And once that opens, hold on. My computer's running real slow, guys, because I have a lot of stuff. Okay, there's QuickTime Player open. Uh-oh. Here we go. QuickTime Player. All right. Now, I would do new screen recording. And then I would have the video playing. And then I would just, you see the voice right here. And then you would do, this is my my stereo microphone that I'm using now. And then I would save to movies, or I could choose it. So I'm going to choose to save it to my desktop. Okay. And then I'm going to just hit start the screen recording. And then I'm going to click and drag where I want it to record. So if I have the, let's say if I have something here I want to record, I'll just hit start recording. Now, of course, it would hear my voice, and it wouldn't hear that, but you have to have your microphone. If you don't have a microphone, you have it right there. And then I would play what I needed to play right there. And then it would play the video, and then it would record that video. So that's one way I do it. And then once I finish, you'll see once it finishes, and if you have QuickTime, and you'll see that it just recorded. I'll just hit start recording. So I hope that answers your question. If you have a Mac, you have a PC, there's a software that I use. It's called Camtasia. And Joe, if you could put that in the chat, Camtasia. Camtasia is a good software, a screen recorder for PCs that I've used. This is a Mac version, but there is a PC version for Camtasia. I'm not sure how much it is right now, but you can check that out. But for the Mac, if you have that. Okay.
I believe
okay.
$99.
All right. And then I have another question coming in the chat. It's the iPad version of presentation remote show black screen for videos. Okay. So a blank screen for videos. All right. All right. So I think that we have about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure we answered all the questions. Any more questions, Joel, that you see on the chat or on the sheet that we have?
None quite yet. If you do have a question that we missed, mind just sending that in again. One other just general tip that I would mention would be to definitely involve the youth and young adults at your church where possible. And obviously they're many times very, very just naturally tech savvy, and you may have some that are particularly good at some of these technologies that you can get some good stuff done that they can quickly get done. They're involved. And you're able to, have higher end presentations overall. So that's one of the things that I'm seeing more and more churches that are, don't necessarily have big budgets or anything like that, but are getting their youth and young adults involved. They can do a lot of this stuff, very, very quickly. So that's just a kind of a non-techie recommendation to just kind of involve those folks. Had a question both from John and Michelle about the services of Symbiota, so don't want to make it into a sales thing, but basically what we do is we help churches in a wide variety of areas. So we talked about the text messaging. We also do graphic design, so whether that's a website, whether that's a promotional video. One of the things that we did in conjunction with the particular series that Chip was talking about was prior to the series, we did different promotional videos that Chip filmed. So we do promotional videos, the text messaging solutions, any type of graphic work. So anything that's more complex than something that you would get from Gray. So Grace was a good step for quite a lot of things. Sometimes with maybe something more like a flyer. In the cases that does make sense, those are some of the areas that we.
Okay, Joe. And if people want more information, just put your website in the chat for people, and then I'm going to put our website in the chat. I want you all to go to Web Video Chefs. That's where I have tutorials on a lot of different website stuff for videos, and then I'm having a special place for pastors on there as well. So, and then there is webvideochefs.com/pastors. Pastor, and that is where we have our resources right there, the PDF, the resources for pastors. Actually, let me just copy and paste that URL for you so you don't even have to worry about that. And then I think that we have about 5 minutes left. And I just want to say that if there's any other webinar questions or any other things, that we're planning on having another one where if you want your tech people to come by and we can record it, we can go over some stuff with them, and we can definitely go and do a little bit more deep dive. I don't want to go too deep today on things. I just want to make sure that we have everything. Joel, you there? Are you there? Okay, maybe I'll cut him off. Okay. Okay.
Skills involved. We're going to run, this presentation again, and we'll do some other upcoming presentations as well.
I'm here. Hello.
So, on behalf of Chip,
hello,
maybe trying to get back on.
Okay, I hit the wrong browser button. That's what happens. Even a low high-tech person, I make some mistakes sometimes. Okay, there I am. That's the URL for the resources for pastor, and I just want to make sure that you all get that. And if any other questions, you can get that. So we're gonna make some more. We're gonna do some more webinars, and we'll record this. So if you want to share this, and we'll do some more deep dive where there'll be recorded webinars on technology. I had a lot of requests on how to pull footage off of DVRs, how to get stuff off of VCRs, how to get old footage, and everything like that. But the resource list should help if you forward that, Michelle, to your team. From me, we could go back and forth on a lot of things, but I think the resources are what are needed. But the key is really having a commitment, and as your pastors do things, and as your ministry people do things, the world has changed. So you just cannot put up anything on the screen anymore that's not quality. And one of my former pastors used to say, everything has to be quality out of the box. So I just know that once we do that, we'll be able to spread it even more, because people are used to seeing things on television, even on YouTube sometimes, where it's quality. So when they see your presentation like that, it goes even further. So I think that's all for now. We're going to end the webinar, but if people want to stay over and still ask some more questions, I'm going to open up the mic if you want to talk, and I'm going to stop the recording at this point, but I'll be here, and Joel will be here till about 5:30 if you want to get on and talk with us, and we'll go back on. Okay? Thanks so much.